Yo, what up? This is my first cooking video, so I'm gonna teach y'all how to make a little bit of bread. So first thing first, I'm the realist. This is my setup right here. Got that dough hook going, and I already put 1 teaspoon of yeast, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and water that was 110 degrees. For the 110 degrees thing, I just took my barbecue thermometer and stuck it in there and make sure it was about right. And now it says to leave it for 10 minutes until it starts getting frothy. It's my first time doing it, so we'll see how it works out. But I guess the yeast takes about 10 minutes to get going, and if it doesn't start looking all frothy after a few minutes, then you're supposed to start all over again. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, so it's been going for probably about 5 minutes or so. But I went outside and got some fresh rosemary, and I just put it into my protein shaker that blends too. And that's where I'm going to get my fresh rosemary from. It calls for 2 tablespoons, but I don't really think I need that much because it's fresh. It smells amazing. But like the fresh one is a little bit more potent, I guess. That's the same thing with all herbs and spices. Like if you're making spaghetti and you put fresh parsley or any type of fresh herbs, you're going to use way less than you would need if you're doing it dried, or if you liven it up on a stove, you just won't need as much. Same thing with cilantro. If you're making your own salsa or something like that, if you shake in cilantro, it seems like you need half a damn bottle to do it. But if you just grab a couple sticks of like the fresh cilantro, you don't need nearly as much. Same thing with rosemary. I made that mistake with a turkey. I put some rosemary onto the coals, and it was like rosemary the hell out. So I brought it back some. But you can see, I guess we're about 5 or 6 minutes in. Inside there, getting a little frothy. This is my first time making bread, so I don't really know how it's going to go. But, I mean, it can't be that hard, right? So I'm going to give it a go. But once this goes in, the next step will be adding the rest of the ingredients. There's not too many ingredients. I'm using whole wheat instead of all-purpose flour. So the biggest difference between using all-purpose flour and whole wheat is the hydration time is different whenever you're doing it. So it can take longer to cook. For example, I was making zucchini bread this weekend and used all whole wheat stuff. And it takes, on average, about 10 minutes longer per hour to cook. So if your recipe calls for you to bake it for an hour, then you probably want to bake it for 70, 75 minutes. If your recipe calls for 45, it's probably going to be in there for 50 minutes, 52 minutes, something like that. So you just got to add a couple minutes. And I added sugar in the raw instead of just plain white sugar because it's better for you, and I like the more molasses kind of taste. I think it gives it a little bit more of a homemade feel than just the regular white sugar that you would get at the store. So I'll wait a few more minutes, and then we'll put the rest of the ingredients in. Alright, so it's been time now. It's been about 10 minutes. So the next thing I'm going to add is 1 teaspoon of salt. Some butter that I softened / melted in the microwave. 1 tablespoon of butter. And then 2 cups of flour. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing this up a little bit too. So I just have a bread hook on there, and that's going to do most of everything. And then just 2 cups of flour. I'm going to do it a little bit slow. Alright, so the flour is in there now. You put it in slow because you don't want it to get it all clumped up. I'll kind of show you what it's looking like. At first, it's just going to look sort of doughy, like a brownie dough, I guess. But all this stuff is going to get mixed in together nicely, and hopefully it'll turn into a big ball of yeast or something. I don't know. But once that gets going, it's supposed to stay on the dough hook for about 8 minutes. And after a few more minutes, I'm going to add the rosemary to it, and then you let it rest for a while, but we'll talk about that when the time comes. Alright, so it's been on there for about 7-8 minutes, and it's looking like that now. So it's a pretty strong ball. I'm going to go ahead and stop it, and then you just take some cooking spray, or I use olive oil spray, and put it on there. Tilt back my old head of the mixer. And you got this, a nice little ball. So then you're gonna put it in this, put it in the bowl and cover it with just a towel. Oh, my wife doesn't get pissed if I'm using these towels for this. So I'm just gonna cover it with a towel, and then you let it rise until it doubles. So most things say it takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So kind of take note of where it's at, and it's just going to sit there. But you can see all those ingredients that I put in there, and if you grease your pan right and put the right amount in there, then whenever it comes out pretty clean. I mean, you got some flour spots, but that's it. So it's not a whole lot of mess and clean up. And while it's going for 8 minutes, or just have somebody else like put your stuff away for you. But I basically cleaned up, so when Auntie McNeely comes home, she's not going to be pissed because I made a big ass mess in the kitchen. And that's what it's all about. If you're cooking for your family, you want to make sure everybody's happy, but there's also a fine line. You're cooking and you're making good bread and doing shit like that, but then if the house is wrecked, you kind of ruined everything. So kind of make sure everything's cleaned up. But I put the rosemary in the trash can, so the rosemary is going to be smelling all fancy because I forgot to take the chicken out yesterday. So it kind of stinks in there right now. So I don't think she's going to be happy about that. But I took the trash out, put rosemary in there, so it's going to be smelling like my ass, like real good. So I'll hit you back up in a few minutes. Alright, it's been about an hour. Shout out to me, no hat this time. So this is what it looks inside the bowl. I just took the towel off. So I'll show you. So then you just kind of smack it down. Let it go. Then I'm going to get a baking sheet out. There's the baking sheet. Then get some spray again. Crotch cam. Alright, spray it down a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of split it in half. And let it chill for about 5 minutes. Alright. So once it chills for about 5 minutes, all I'm going to do is take it and form it into oval-sized balls that are just this big. So I'm just going to let it rest and chill for a second for about 5 minutes. Then do it like that, and then I'm going to leave it for another 45 minutes. And after that, I'll be ready to bake in the oven. So I'll be back again. Alright, well basically everything's done. These are about to go into the oven. One of them's for like a sandwich sub for tomorrow, and the other one we're going to have with soup tonight. So bake it at 375 for about 18 minutes, and it should be good. Thanks for watching. Alright, well, it's all done. I just took it out of the oven. Auntie McNeely's vaping. This is the bread, freshly buttered. We're putting together a cheese and veggie tray for the rest of the meal. So, suck it, haters.